Hello everybody, it's me Ross and welcome to another video. Today I'm joined by good old Ben Diaz and the sweet Welsh Prince Harvey Davies as we talk about the players out of contract. Are they going to keep him? Are they going to release him? We'll find out. Ben, there's a few players on this list that are probably going to be hard decisions for yourself to decide who you're going to keep. It is a horrible thing to do, really, deciding on people's futures and about basically losing their jobs. So, Ben, let's take this slowly. Let's have a good thought on this. Let's start with James Norwood. He's got an option. This season, he's been in and out of the team because of things we know. He's 31, 6 goals in all competitions this year. What are you doing with him?
Yeah, it's a player that arrived with much fanfare. So he's had an odd time at Ipswich. He's had various issues off the pitch that are well documented, but seems to have knuckled down and got back, deservedly, I think, got back in the team under McKenna. He had that really good run over the first few games under McKenna around the Christmas, New Year time when he seemed to be scoring in a run of games. Seems to have gone off the ball recently. Obviously, had that miss, which everyone has seen because it was live on Sky against Rotherham. But there's no doubt he works bloody hard for the team. Whether he wants to be sort of probably more of a squad player next year is all part of the conversations that I would have thought happening behind the scenes. You know, it is a difficult decision for the club. I think in football, obviously, it's very cutthroat. Easier for us to come on here and say whether it's yes or no. You know, off with the head, thumbs up or thumbs down. Not so much pressure for us, is it? I've actually got James Norwood as a thank you, James, but we won't be renewing your contract. I wouldn't be looking at the option. I just think through no fault of his own, he's sort of summed up, another player that summed up the issues that we've had in League One. And I think if we want to be promoted next season, and that's what we're talking about now, we need to say thank you, James. I don't think you're going to be the spearhead to our attack. Best of luck, but we're going to move on from that one. I don't think he'll be here next year.
Okay, so Ben's got one player at the door. Harvey, your thoughts, your feelings on James Norwood? Is he worth another year? It seems he wants to be a main man at a football club, and Kieran McKenna will be strengthening the forward line. And will James Norwood be part of that in your squad?
Yeah, Norwood's a player I've always liked. Again, Ben mentions it there. He works so hard for the team, and I think if you see that as a fan, you do have a bit more of a rapport with the player. I think he'll go down as one of the most exciting Marcus Evans signings, to be honest with you, in that era, because he scored all those goals, 32 goals for Tranmere. There's plenty of clubs linked with him, and we managed to get him down over the line, which was really, really exciting at the time. And I thought he would really spearhead us on into success. Unfortunately, it's not worked out quite like that. His goals to game ratio, if you look at it, is actually pretty impressive, really. He does score, majority of the time when he plays. I know he's had a few kind of ups and downs this season, as we've alluded to, both on and off the pitch. But he's a player that leads the line well. I was at Shrewsbury a few weeks ago, and I thought I know he scored the goal, but I thought his overall play was good. He doesn't stop running. I know Stu's mentioned it a few times in the pod that he came back, I think, the fittest in last pre-season. He outdid all the players on the fitness tests and stuff. So he's a good player. He's a goal scorer. I still think at this moment in time he's the best finisher we've got at the club. Arguably him and Chaplin, I think, are best, but I think Norwood just edges it for me. However, this is a very long-winded answer to get to my eventual point. I have to say I'm with Ben on this one. I think a fresh start for all is best. He'll be 32 next year, won't he? And he won't want to be coming towards the end of his career and sitting on the bench and getting the occasional game or the occasional 10, 15 minutes here and there. So I think it's best for Norwood and it's best for Ipswich as well if he moves on, because although we got relegated, I'm sure he'll be on a pretty decent wage at League One level with that 3-year contract we signed him on. So I think for all parties, it's best if he does move on. But I hope he goes on and scores elsewhere. I think he will score goals elsewhere if he keeps himself fit and he has a teammate like a Colin Jennings he had at Tranmere who we can really work with and develop a good relationship with. It would not surprise me to see James Norwood score 15, 20 goals next season in League One. It really wouldn't. However, as you've mentioned, McKenna's going to want to invest heavily at the top end of the pitch. it seems like he certainly prefers James Norwood over Macaulay Bonne, but whether he prefers him enough to give him another year, I don't think so. I think every manager coming into a club will want to strengthen the top end of the pitch, and McKenna will be no different. So, it's a thank you, James. He's given us some interesting memories, and he's certainly a character. But it's a no for me.
Okay, then one striker down, onto another striker, Caden Jackson. Ben, a player that was pretty much out the door in the summer. Of course, Paul Cook put him in the bomb squad. He was playing for the under-23s. But under McKenna, he's been fantastic, and unfortunately got an injury at the wrong time. He hasn't got an option, so a new deal will have to be for KJ. What are you doing with Kane Jackson?
Yeah, I think the option was this year, wasn't it? And we kept him on. And I think at the time, the thinking was that we'd get a fee for him, and things have turned completely around. Gone from when we signed him in the first instance, I think he was going to be this exciting, leading the line with Norwood pacing behind. He seems, certainly before he got that horrible injury against Pompey at home, that he was going to be at the forefront of this playoff push that lasted for, got us excited for 5 or 6 games in sort of March time. But yeah, I think it's a great story on its own in terms of showing other players at the club what you can do if you just knuckle down, do what the manager says, be a good professional, which, I mean, it sounds easy, but not a lot, not all footballers are good professionals. I think the majority are, but some aren't. And Caden, credit to him, he came back, so that great run of the team. And I think that will probably be enough to, certainly get a decent contract on the table. I think as Town fans, we do look at our club and think, surely if we give him a contract, he'll sign it. I'm not sure whether that's definitely going to be the case. I know we had Sam Morsey on a different podcast saying that he believes that that Jackson would sign a new deal. I would be happy with that. I think he's shown enough in that run of games, sort of late February, early March. We had sort of 7 or 8 games. I remember being at Wimbledon when he got that surprise call into the team. He did a really good job on the left, just worked really hard for the sort of the 60 minutes. And then he went more central, I think. MK Dons away, played really well there on a really good game, actually, 0-0, but thought he played really well. And then, of course, he got a man of the match performance against Burton at home. So if we can see that next year with a new contract, I think he is the sort of striker that we look to have in this division next year and can help with a promotion push, fingers crossed. So I'd definitely keep him, Ross. Yeah, I'd offer him a contract and, then hope he signs it.
Okay, Harvey, are you agreeing with Ben? Do you think Kane Jackson will get that new deal? Are you going to give him that new deal? And I think out of all the strikers, he does fit what Kieran McKenna wants to see in a striker. He's got pace, and he's played well under him as well.
Yeah, what a journey Caden Jackson's had at this club. I mean, coming back 12 months ago, would you have ever envisaged this being the case out of all the strikers that we've got at the club? It'd be Caden Jackson that would be the most likely to stay. Yeah, I've been a big critic of Jackson in the past. I won't shy away from that. I've not been his biggest fan. I think the jump to championship level was too much for him at the time. I think he would argue, probably looking back now, he'd think the same. But there's no doubt in what he offers. I think Jackson, if he's such an instinctive footballer, if he has too much time to think, I think that's when Jackson comes short with his finishing and things like that. I think if he just, when he's off the cuff and when he's doing things instinctively, working instinctively, I think that's when he plays his best football. There's no doubt his pace is his main attribute, and that's arguably he's our paciest player. He's the only frontline player that we've got that can offer that pace. I remember the one that kind of comes back to my mind is the MK Dons. I remember looking at the MK Dons team sheet and thinking, wow, I would not have done that if I was McKenna. But it proved to be, I know we didn't win, but it proved to be a good decision because he had a really good game that day. McKenna has spoken about him in really positive terms. So that would not surprise me that he signs a new deal. But I am with Ben on that. It's not necessarily a case of here's a new deal, you're going to sign it. Kane Jackson is going to want to play football, and there's going to have to be a meeting in the middle kind of scenario there, because Kane Jackson is not going to be our first choice striker next season. That's just not going to happen. He'll be a really useful squad player and he'll offer something different maybe to the other strikers we've got. But my gut feeling is that he will stay, and I would like to keep him. I think he's worthy of 18 months, 2-year deal, something like that. I think he's shown what he can offer. We mentioned the Burton game where that game stands out, but it's clear to see the qualities that he's got. And I think one comment that really comes to mind as well is in an interview he had a few months ago, where he said, previous managers, Cook or Lambert, whoever that may be, were just purely focusing on what Caden Jackson couldn't do, whereas McKenna has really kind of nailed down what he's good at and play to those qualities, which I think shows McKenna's credentials as a coach as well as, there clearly is a player there in Caden Jackson. So I would keep him. Again, not something I thought I'd say 12 months ago, but I would keep him as a useful squad player. But we can't go into next season as Kane Jackson as our main striker. That can't happen. But yeah, I would like to keep him.
I have a feeling you guys are going to be ruthless on our next player, and a lot of people have been, and that is Tom Carroll. He's going to be 30 in May. He's had injuries, hasn't played since the Cambridge defeat, Ben. What are you doing with Tom Carroll?
Yeah, he was particularly unpopular that day, wasn't he, Cambridge? McKenna sort of go back to that game, and I couldn't believe Backerson didn't play. Look, the easiest it's one of the easy ones. He's not going to play for us next year. I think Stuart Watson said was like the last time we see him in an Ipswich shirt, the Cambridge game, and I'm sure that it will be. I don't see any reason why he play against Charlton on Saturday. He just, and again, to use Andy Warren's word, he just doesn't look like he even enjoys playing football. I see him sort of, as a centre midfielder, you want to be dynamic, make it around the pitch, even when it looks like he needs to sort of maybe run over for a tackle or run over to make a ball before the opposition player gets it. It just doesn't look like there's a spark there. The lights look like they've gone out. He's had so much potential in his career at Spurs, Swansea. He had a run of games at QPR. Maybe be better higher up, in the Championship, playing a different brand of football. I don't know. I just think you've got to try and adapt your game when you come down to League One, and he just doesn't look like he's able to do that. I didn't disagree with the signing in the first instance, but it wasn't one that got me excited. Just because I did think, is he someone that sort of football has passed him by? He's sort of a good talent, but one of those younger players that's just not quite probably seen the best that what his talent could have offered.
Indeed. And Harvey, he wasn't on the bench at Crewe. The youngsters were on the bench instead of him, so that pretty much put him out of he's gone pretty much. I'm sure he's still training, but what are you doing with Tom Carroll?
Giving him a new deal? No, I'm joking. I also agree. I kind of, you mentioned the Cambridge game there. When I saw that team announced, I kind of saw McKenna. I know it's looking back now, it's you think, why on earth did he start? But I saw the logic in why he picked Tom Carroll for that game, because Backerson's very good at breaking play up and 1-2s, that kind of thing. Whereas Tom Carroll's game should really be, he's got a good left foot on him. It should be, putting those passes through that can break the lines. That Cambridge are very much 4-5-1 that day. So I when I saw the team, it didn't necessarily surprise me to see Carroll there, because that is really what he used to offer as such. But Ben's right; he's not adapted his game to League One at all. Very few moments that stick out in my mind that he's offered. And yeah, it's a short one, but it's a goodbye. Where he'll go from there, I'm not too sure. But we need a lot more in the centre of the pitch. That's an area, the whole Backinson debate. That's another question, but that's an area of the pitch where we need to strengthen in the summer, especially. We can't really bank on Lee Evans' fitness, can we, by the looks of it, unfortunately. So, yeah, we've got to improve in that area. And Tom Carroll is not the answer to that.
He isn't. And he will definitely be a good strike question in a few years' time for me to bring out. Remember Tom Carroll? How many games did he play? Blah, blah, blah. I can't think off the top of my head how many games he has played this year, but we don't need to worry about that. We are going to talk about a man who went out on loan, scored 11 goals in League Two for Swindon. And that is Torrey Simpson. Of course, he's come out and said he doesn't want to be here in the summer. He wants to leave, but he does have an option on his contract. What are you doing, Ben? I think we spoke about this on the fan social last week, but expand your thoughts and feelings on this, and would you just give him that option just so we can get a fee for him?
I'm not going to go into the wrongs and the rights of the situation, because that's been well covered enough, but just simply on the contract scenario, Ipswich, again, looking after themselves, I think we trigger it and then we try and get the best fee possible. I've been amazed hearing, I mean, rumours, aren't they? So it may be a load of absolute rubbish, but hearing possible championship interest in somebody who scored 11 goals in League Two, and not really showing anything else. Look, he's got talent. He's got the attributes in terms of physical attributes to go and do something with his career. It's a shame it's not going to be of Ipswich, but at the same time, we do need to, I think, try and get a fee for him. I mean, that's one thing that you don't want to see another player leave for next to nothing at all. So let's trigger that contract and then negotiate a decent fee. I mean, it's not going to be much, is it? A few 100,000, but it's still better than nothing. That'll pay Messi's wages for a week. So.
Indeed, a different world. Yeah, but anyway, Harvey, Torrey Simpson, a bit of a messy situation. Although I've said on previous stuff, I think it's been a bit overhyped, really. But what's your feelings on this? And you triggering the option just like Ben?
Yeah, I think we have to. I think we will. We've got a CEO in charge now who isn't silly. He's mentioned, made reference not directly to Simpson's situation, but it's pretty obvious that it was at the fans forum regarding agents, and we're not going to be taken for fools and so on. So I think it would be a sensible business decision. I think that's what it is at this point. Is you treat it as a business decision because he doesn't want to stay. So I think we have to trigger the option and get the best deal we can for him. It's not going to be a lot because at the end of the day, he's still going to be in his last 12 months of a deal. So it's not going to be a lot, but it all counts at League One level, when you're balancing the books and so on. So, I'd get rid. He doesn't want to be here. He's improved a lot over the last few years. I'll give him that. I remember the last game I went to pre-lockdown was Blackpool away, and he came on for the last 5-10 minutes, something like that. Granted, not much of a time period to make an impression, but he looked useless. He really, really did. He looked awful, couldn't control the ball. I was not impressed whatsoever. But he's worked on his game a lot. To score 11 goals in League Two, he must have improved in some aspects. So good luck to him. Whether it's a mistake on his end remains to be seen. But clearly his head isn't at the club, is it? He's training. He's not training with the first team anymore, is he? I think McKenna said last week. So good luck to him. It's a shame it's not worked out. But again, the word ruthless comes into it. We've got to look after ourselves in this situation, trigger the option, get the best deal for him, and get rid.
I think these four players we're going to talk about next, who are all out on loan currently, all out of contract: Thomas Holy, Bailey Clements, Mars Kenlock, Brett Mcgavin. Three of them, the young players. Mars Kenlock is not really young anymore; he's 25. They've got options, but Thomas Holy hasn't got an option. Ben will quickly just cover Thomas Holy on loan at Port Vale at the moment, but hasn't played since March. The start of March, so he's not even playing for Port Vale. So I think his future is pretty much over at town. But he won't get a new deal, will he?
No, won't get a new deal. Seems like an absolute top man. Wish him the best. Even if we needed a goalkeeper, it wouldn't be in the mould of Thomas Holy. Look, it's a number 2 to Walton. Say Halaki goes. He's awful with the ball at his feet. He's got great. Absolutely smashing it up the pitch, almost the length of the pitch, but it doesn't when the ball comes back to him. He used to have a conniption every single time. So, he's not going to fit the McKenna mould. Good luck, Thomas. Thank you for the brief memories.
And so I'm sure same for you, Harvey.
Yeah, what a bloke. I mean, really, what a bloke. I've met him on a few occasions, and he is just the kind of guy that you would love a night out with because he would just be such good company. But unfortunately, that doesn't mean you're a good goalkeeper. And I thought I'd said it for probably 2 years. He was a really, really poor goalkeeper. I could never understand how someone who's 6'9" was so bad at commanding his area. I never understood it. And just going back to that Blackpool game again quickly, he was at fault for 2 of the goals that game. I think the second one in particular, where they crossed it in, and it was a pretty simple catch for him to come and cross, and he just fumbled it as Holy often did. But the standard of goalkeeping in Ipswich has gone up a significant amount now with Christian Walton in goal. I think there'll be a goalkeeper vacancy in the summer at Ipswich Town because I think Halaki will move on. But Thomas Holy isn't that man. Hopefully he'll go on and have a good rest of his career, but it's not going to be at Ipswich Town.
And next player, Mars Kenlock, my favourite player, of course. On loan at Colchester at the moment, 25 years old. Does have an option on his deal. What are you doing, Ben?
the free scoring Miles Kenlock. He's got 3 or 4 goals for Colchester now. No, he'll be gone, won't he, as well? Again, it's all about the level of football that we're looking at now. I think Miles sort of summed up the previous regime very well in terms of we were just treading water for so long in hindsight. I mean, you always want an Ipswich youngster to do well, but it's just not. He's not at the standard that we want to get to. I hope he does. I hope he stays at Colchester. I hope that means obviously he can stay in the area. I hope then he can have another good few years at Colchester and then see where his career goes from there. But he's not going to stay at Ipswich. So yeah, thank you, Miles. Off you pop.
And Harvey, left-sided has been our problem all season. Miles Kenlock wasn't going to be the answer, but yeah, it's pretty easy answer for you, I'm sure.
No, he's not the answer for me. I think he's actually been unlucky in terms of the criticism he's received. I don't think he's as bad as fans make out. I know you'll probably disagree with that, Ross. I didn't think he didn't ever set the world alight. Clearly, at left back, because 3 or 4 managers didn't fancy him. But I never thought he was as terrible as others. But he's certainly not the answer at left back. And again, he seems to have done quite well at Colchester, which again doesn't surprise me because he's a steady left back, I suppose. But he's not. He's not at, I was going to say at our level. I mean, we're 11th in League One, I suppose. That's our level, but he's not. He's not the answer going forward. Especially, McKenna. If we're going to continue with this 3-4-2-1, 3-4-3, whatever you want to call it, you really need a dynamic left back. And no, he's not the answer, unfortunately. But wish him the best. As I said, an Ipswich lad coming through. Hopefully, he can continue and have a good few years in the game.
Yeah, and talking about another left back, Bailey Clements, currently on loan at Stevenage. Hasn't played since February though. Made a surprise few appearances under Paul Cook. 21 years of age. Can't really say my words. Has an option for a further year. Ben, what are you doing with Bailey Clements?
Yeah, unfortunately, Bailey's going to be another one that it's going to be a no from me. It was good to see him get a chance. Whether that I think it was pretty much forced upon Paul Cook with the players we had missing at the time. But I particularly remember the Rotherham game. We all bloody struggle against Rotherham, all 11 players. But he had not a shocker, but he just looked really lightweight and he lost the ball a lot and he looked absolutely shattered when he eventually went off. Who knows? Will he have a decent career? I don't know. I think Ross, we were saying earlier that he hasn't played for Stevenage for the last couple of months since Steve Evans come in. I'm sure Evans, the manager, he's looking for more experience in his side. So he will be up against it in terms of where he'll go and play football. But he's not, again, at the, I think, level-wise, what Ipswich are trying to do. I know we're 11th now, but what we're going to try and do next year, I'll be amazed if he gets offered, if that option gets offered. I think he's got to be one that will leave the club.
And Harvey, would you say there is, a good opportunity just to trigger that option so we can maybe get a little fee for him, or is it just don't waste his time, don't waste our time, just in case we don't get any offers and he could be sitting with our 23s once again? He's 21. What are you doing with it, Bailey?
I think it's difficult to justify any sort of fee when he's barely played for Stevenage. I think that's the issue there. The Simpson situation is different because he's gone to League Two, played and scored quite a few goals. So I think the club just needs to look at it and say, he's 21, 22. I think it'd be 22 soon, won't he? So at that age, you've got to go out and play regular games. Whether it means him dropping down to the National League for a season, he might have a really good season at the National League. We've seen a lot of players drop down to National League and then have a really good season and they're brought back up to league level again. So hopefully that will be the case with Bailey. I think I remember when I went to Oldham away in the cup. I think he played that game. Didn't play particularly well, but again, none of them did. Really didn't deserve to win the game apart from that El Mazzuni strike. So yeah, it's a shame it's not worked out. But I think he looked out of his depth when he came in. I think it was more of a surprise to Bailey Clements than any of us, to be honest, that he's came in and started a few games. So it's certainly a good experience for him, at that level. But he needs to go away, maybe drop down to the National League and hopefully get his career up and running because he's got some decent attributes, but ultimately not good enough for this level.
Indeed, and you mentioned National League, and Ben, the man who's been playing National League football this year with Kingsley and Town, is Brett Mcgavin, the final man we're going to discuss. He has an option for a further year, 22 years of age. Probably has learnt a lot this campaign, but probably another player that probably needs to look elsewhere for his future. Of course, he made some surprise appearances under Paul Lambert during the COVID season and impressed in flashes, but maybe just not ready just yet to play League One football. What are you doing with Brett?
Yeah, like you said, Ross, he looked quite tidy under Lambert at times. I thought he looks like he's got some potential. And when these players grow in terms of their bodies and their physicality, you never know how tall he was going to get or how physical he might be in the air or in the tackle, that sort of thing. I don't know how he's. I mean, Kings Lynn, I've seen him score a couple of absolute crackers actually, but I know that's a completely different level to League One. The difference in levels is vast. So he's going to be another one. Particularly, it's an area of the pitch Ipswich do need to improve on. But Mcgavin's not going to be the answer, is he? So yeah, he's another young lad that it's a shame. He's come through the academy. I don't think it's one where we have stumped his growth at all. I just think that it hasn't worked out. It doesn't sound like he's really ripped up trees at Kings Lynn. If he had done, we'd have had more reports about it, and he'd have earned that deal. But no, it's like Harvey said about Bailey Clements. Perhaps he's best to go and stay with Kings Lynn or another team in the National League next season if Kings Lynn don't stay up, and see how he develops his career from there. It'll be nice to keep an eye on him, but it won't be at Ipswich.
Yeah, it won't be. And Harvey, I'm sure it's an easy one. Take it away.
Yeah, same again. I was really impressed with him, to be honest with you, under Lambert. For those the I follow season, or whatever you want to call it. I thought he reminded me of a younger, slightly more dynamic version of Cole Scooson in that kind of withdrawn midfield role in front of the back four. So I was impressed with him, and I thought possibly there's a player there. But yeah, it's just not worked out, and I think he's another one who's 22, 23 now. So he's got to go and play regular games, and it's not going to be at Ipswich. So good luck to him, but yeah, we are best for all parties if we move on.
Indeed, and we are finished that contract debate, which wasn't a debate because you guys stayed on the same wavelength, but it is pretty easy to decide on who should get, what should get, all that sort of stuff. But Ben, Harvey, it has been a pleasure to be joined with you guys and discuss about that good half an hour chat on all things Ipswich Town contract news. Ben, any other notes before we wrap up?
No, I'm a bit surprised Harvey and I agreed about Aluko, but it's nice to say I'm not on my own there. Yeah, it is sometimes interesting to have these debates, but it's refreshing on the other hand to agree. It means that, I wish all Ipswich fans would sing from the same hymn sheet sometimes, but as long as we're behind the club, that's all that matters, and it should be an exciting summer, Ross. It should be. And Harvey, final note from yourself, my friend.
Yeah, echo those views. Hopefully we'll have a really good recruitment, in the summer. I mean, we seem to say it every season, don't we? But there's a massive, massive season for this football club next season. We've got to get the recruitment absolutely bang on. Mark Ashton's data dashboard has got to be working overtime every single day because, we don't want to be in this league for much longer. And I believe with McKenna, we're heading in the right direction. There'll be a few bumps along the way. It's important that we don't get impatient and don't start slagging people off over social media and stuff like that, just staying behind the team. But I'm sure we all will, because as fans, we get frustrated, but we all want the same thing, don't we? And I believe under the management and the ownership group, we're certainly heading in that direction.
We are indeed. Good words as always, Ben. Harvey, thanks for joining me. Hope everybody's enjoyed watching. Let us know in the comments your thoughts, your feelings on the players that are out of contract. Make sure to like, subscribe and all that sort of stuff. We'll be back for more videos soon. See you then.